It's worth it.
I
But
might have to
anyways,
revisit.
so Matthew Lillard being Stu Macher, that brings us into the next thing. Now, I'm quite sure you've seen One Night at Willie's, right? Or what was it? Willie's
Right, right.
Wonderland? Willie's
When
Wonderland.
do Nick Cage film,
Doesn't
wonderfully
say a
done.
word, just destroys animatronics the whole time and cleans the
Right.
arcade.
And according to, depending on who you believe, I think it's factual that he wanted to be a part of it, but he didn't want to have a speaking role as a part of it, something along those lines. But still, he did it perfectly.
I just love the fact that he took breaks. He didn't care what was going on. It's like
Yeah,
break
it's
time.
like, and even the animatronics are like, what the hell?
Goes back in the back, plays pinball.
And
15 minutes are done.
they're like, the hell? He just like just wanders off,
Yep.
pops open like a Red Bull and just starts drinking.
And plays his
And everybody's like,
pinball.
ball, and just
But yes, great movie that was potentially one of the many attempts to kind of adapt Five Nights at Freddy's, the better one of the two so far. Because before we got the announcement recently that yes, we're getting a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, brought to us by Universal. I think Blumhouse is involved. I could be wrong. I'll have to rewatch the teaser. It's only
too.
48 seconds. Looks like Josh Dumel is the security guard in this, from what I'm seeing from the trailer. But we do get a brief one shot of Matthew Lillard, and he's dressed up 80s style, and he's apparently playing William Afton, who, if you're familiar with the games, is the central villain known as the Purple Guy, or Golden Bonnie, who is a trap suit that comes up in later games where it explains what happened to William Afton and why now in Five Nights at Freddy's the game part 4 that William Afton is still around, because he got trapped in the Bonnie suit. The locks locked in and kind of drilled him into the suit permanently.
The
And
thing is, I'm familiar that Five Nights at Freddy's was a game. I think it was started out as a mobile game.
yes,
Um, the reason why I was familiar with it a little bit that it was out. Um, I know very little of the lore or
the
very
lore is
little
heavy.
of it. It is heavy. My touchings of that lore has been through Matt Pat and video game theory.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And he's a good summary
that
for it.
and that's I've watched a couple of his videos in regards to him theorizing in regards to the Five Nights at Freddy games, but not the whole run. So I enjoyed those videos, but I wasn't really paying attention to it because I didn't really play the games.
Simply
So,
put,
and I
in
know
most of
it's
the
like
games, you play as a security
thick.
guard. You're either watching one of the restaurants or a closed version of the restaurants or a haunt built around the remains of one of the restaurants. Later sequels involved other things. My kid is recently playing through some of them. The most recent one being on PS4 and PS5. I think they just have a teaser trailer for the latest like free DLC for it called Ruination, which kind of adds a new story element, which they're excited for. But anyways, like the simple plot is like there was a place like Showbiz Pizza slash Chuck E. Cheese's where one of the owners slash workers worked there and was killing kids and putting them inside the animatronics to hide the bodies after killing them. Now, there's a whole murder revenge plot involving the two creators of the restaurant, which were William Afton, the killer, and then I can't think of the other guy's name. I know my kid's probably online screaming at me at the moment. Why don't you remember Mama Sash? But anyway, because of that, of course, the animatronics are haunted. You also have this killer that now seems to be an unstoppable undead killer that keeps coming back, aka kind of like Jason, but with supreme intelligence.
Let me
So,
just interrupt you there for a moment, Sasha.
yep.
Folks at home, if you're watching this, please yell at Sasha in the comments saying, "Why don't you know Mama Sasha?" Hashtag Mama Sasha.
Why don't you know, Mama
Put it
Sash?
in the comments.
down below.
If this video ever get, if this video ever gets up on YouTube.
Oh, it'll get there. It'll get there. But anyway, with the whole series, it's just a scare like kind of thing. But what's great about it is it's a series that doesn't tell you the backstory or push the backstory on you. In the early games, you got to pick it up as you play along, which I always thought was kind of cool. You'll see newspaper clippings, you'll pick up certain things, but the story's not directly related to you because in the game, obviously, Five Nights at Freddy's, you got to survive 5 nights. You know, you got to get through from I want to say it's like midnight until 6 in the morning. Again, kid probably screaming at me. What? I'm getting something wrong somewhere. But you got to survive from when the shop closes until they open up again in the morning. Because apparently they are like, yeah, at night the animatronics get a little twitchy and sometimes they're not where they're supposed to be because they're operated by an AI, but you later find out some of them are haunted. And it's a very complex plot. You know, basically, Chris said it best. Matt Pat from Game Theory really gets into detail on it. So if you get a chance, you've got a long watch list.
Yeah.
Though personally,
He's
I would say
Matt.
when it comes to Matt Pat, watch, of course, the most terrifying video he's ever done on Legend of Zelda's Hookshot. I always thought that one was fun. Because yes, it would kill you.
He has a lot of good videos out. I think he really recently sold one of his channels. I'm not sure to who, but that's probably a different discussion for a different time. But still, Matt Pat's one of the bigger YouTubers out there. He's got like a half dozen channels out there. He's got food theory, style theory, movie theory, game theory, food theory, style theory, and maybe one or two others, something like that.
Yes,
Has a
lot of stuff. But he got to start in gaming, and he helped a lot of other like theorists that are out there. Like my favorite, a guy named Austin. I feel terrible. I can't think of his channel name, but most of his videos are titled "The Science of," and most of them "The Science of Fallout," because he likes to focus on
right.
Fallout. Like for example, like he did one on laser weapons, and he starts every video with that like dramatic like don't and he's typing up a letter. He's like, "Dear Bethesda, hi, it's
I
me
think I've
again,
seen that. I think I've seen some of
Austin,
his videos.
and your laser
I think
weapons make no goddamn fucking sense."
and I like his videos. I like there's another person I subscribe to. He does a lot of things scientifically as well. He's always like in it's obviously green screen. He's like in a bunker. He'll explain why certain things, how the science of warp drive, science of volcanoes, and how it affect how science sci-fi gets it right, wrong, so forth and so on. It's very entertaining. I got to pull it up, and it's there are many YouTubers out there that kind of do a lot of the same thing, and they're very entertaining.
And
The one I'm talking
educational.
about used to be and educational. The one I'm talking about used to be part of Nerdist for a long time. Then he kind of branched out on his own channel. So
In fact, the guy who does the science of videos, he did this like machinima animation based on the Fallout game engine, where it's a fully acted out like thing where he voices very much akin to sounding like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, a psycho who is just this drug-addled fiend, and his adventures through the wasteland of Fallout 4 and just some of the crazy bug shit like stuff that he brings into it. He even has like another YouTuber that does a lot of the lore of Fallout, where they talk about the lore and history of Fallout, and yeah, it's hilarious. Like there's this one scene where they wind up with Hello Kitty power armor, and I could not stop laughing for hours.
two side notes. One is like the one I was talking about. He did the science behind silver
Mm-hmm.
because at the time that one came out, it was like 2020, and The Witcher first season of The Witcher came out, and he was talking about how the reason why silver could have been used came into mythology as a way to kill or on a live, depending which platform you want to go on. Neither me or Sasha make any money off this stuff anyway. But the reason why silver was used for getting rid of vampires, werewolves, and so forth and so on is
Antibacterial.
because it's antibacterial. And it was that, and I saw that video like 2 or 3 months prior to me going to the hospital in 2020. And when the nurses and doctors were like, yeah, we got to put some little bit
Silvadene.
of silverdene on your the wounds to help heal it, because I had abscesses on my back of my neck and shoulders and head. And they said, you know why silverdene we use that? I said, yeah, I watched a YouTube video explaining that in regards to why The Witcher has a silver sword and the origins of that legend. They're like, what how do you know? It's like, well, they explained that because silver has antibacterial properties to it, therefore they incorporate it into legends and so forth and so on. That's why I was like, hey, yeah, cool.
Like colloidal
Antibacterial.
silver or colloidal, but it's basically like a liquid type of silver, not mercury. Don't go
Right.
drink a mercury, that'll kill you. But colloidal silver, you can actually ingest it. And there are people who have implemented it into their diet so much that they have turned blue. Like they have been permanently dyed blue from having that much silver in their system.
I'm sure Sasha can agree with me in regards to that. If you choose to go that route, please consult your general practitioner, your general physician, because there is that chance of, if you take certain vitamins and minerals, you can
Damage
literally
yourself.
overdose
Yep.
and damage yourself. The two vitamins you can kind of sort of overdose on is B and C, because your body easily processes those two vitamins directly out of your system. Beyond that, if you take too much A, K, or other supplements, you can easily overdose.
Or you
If
can
you go
turn
too
blue.
far
And if
over,
you're not
or you
under
can
like
turn
3 or 4 feet high, blue is not a good look.
But for the most part, if you're the kind of person that takes a 1 a day vitamin, you're
You're
not
fine.
gonna you're not gonna overdose. But it's one of those things. It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't help either. But either way, see your medical professional in regards to it. And if you do things that way, follow the recommendations.
And
So
if
we
your
don't want we
spouse is taking too many prenatal vitamins, that's your fault. You're the one who gave her the parasite with your sexually transmitted disease.
werewolfism.
You know, there is a movie where you can catch that through sexual transmission.
uh, yeah, I know. That's why I made the reference.
Ginger snaps, the
I
things
post
you learn.
the watching movies, the things you learn, and that at that point when I watched it, I was like, well, if lycanthropy, in essence, werewolfism, can be considered a sexually transmitted disease,
So is
now
vampirism.
can vampirism be considered?
Yes, because there's
And
fluid
some
exchange.
folks, it depends. And one of the folks I talked to, like, well, it depends. When was the last time they actually drank blood? Because if they're literally dry and haven't drunk anything for a while, then in essence, they're not going to, they could possibly, whether or not they're able to get aroused may depend on if they fed recently
No.
and had intake to kind of, but again, it all depends on which side of the lore you want to
And
talk
also,
about.
if we dip into storogies, and that's a whole other conversation. Read the strain.
Sometimes, sometimes the actual lore for a lot of stuff is weird and fascinating too.
Yeah, culture. It's interesting. But
Culture.
anyways, like Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, being a child of the '80s, having gone to places like Chuck E. Cheese, animatronics were a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
having
love.
seen the trailer, having it be in that '80s style
Mhm.
and feel,
The
it,
employee
it
education video.
right, and it made me intrigued to want to see the FNAF film,
Hmm.
and to kind of give folks at home out there, a little bit of context. The reason why we got the Willy's Wonderland and we
And
got the
banana
Banana
splits.
Splits, and amongst a few others, is because they were trying to get FNAF made, and
Well,
somehow
it wasn't so much that. It's a little bit more complicated because Scott Cawthon,
it's just
ever since it took off, he's been very protective about what and how the movie's done. Now, one thing I like about Universal and Blumhouse is they respect creators. And so with Scott saying, look, my fans are going to want this to look and feel a certain way, and if it don't, they're not going to see it. And every studio he went to and every studio that optioned it, like if he wasn't happy, he let them know I can pull this at any point. And so you had a ton of studios that had a ton of pre-production work done, especially on the faux animatronics, like Warner Brothers with Banana Splits. They had a ton of stuff already done. And now Scott's like, I'm not happy. I don't like what you changed in the script. I don't know what you're doing here with these effects. I'm out. And I'm taking my rights with me. And he kept that option. And so finally to see this, because they announced the movie in 2015, it's been 8 years since
as
basically.
long as my show has been around.
Yes.
So
It's been basically been pushing for the last 8 years. In fact, the Comic-Con you and I were at, one of the artists that was there, Saproxy, they actually were famous for doing a lot of FNAF art. And that's why they were at the con, because they were getting a lot of internet interest for the art that they were doing, even though their very backwards a-hole mom tried to steal the show from them the whole time. But that's a whole other story and separate mess we can get on some other time. Yes, the idiots I have to deal with. But anyway,
what was the convention that this person was at? Was it this past year's?
no, Wingsboro, they're at the skating rink.
Oh, at the skating rink. Oh, that
The
far
very
back.
first time we met.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know. But that's why I was making clarification, because as the folks at home that have been watching or listening regularly know that the past 2 weeks have been a little bit stressful for me, in regards to getting to events and trying to do content and all that.
Yeah,
So
a little bit
it's been like
stressful for
distracting.
me, but I'm starting to heal. So